It's not every day that someone says you were right, I was wrong. But today that's exactly what we're talking about, because in a shocking twist, the Candace Owens defamation lawsuit just took a major turn. New evidence has surfaced, and the implications could change everything. From courtroom revelations to unexpected apologies, the case has moved into a territory few saw coming. If you've been following the story, you already know how complicated and emotionally charged this situation has become. Candace Owens, known for her strong political commentary and bold public statements, has found herself in the middle of a defamation lawsuit that's raising eyebrows across the internet. At the heart of this case is a conversation about truth, influence, and responsibility in the digital age. But the part that has the internet buzzing right now, one of Owens' critics, someone who had publicly challenged her motives and credibility, has stepped forward with a stunning admission. You were right. I was wrong. Yes, you heard that right. In a detailed post that's now circulating across social media platforms, this individual laid out how they misjudged Candace's position, misunderstood some of the facts, and contributed to a narrative that may have amplified the controversy unnecessarily. This moment of humility has added a layer of complexity to a lawsuit that was already emotionally intense and legally nuanced, and the timing couldn't be more crucial. With the court proceedings heading into their next phase and Owens' legal team becoming increasingly vocal, this confession could potentially reshape both public sentiment and courtroom strategy. But what exactly prompted this reversal? Was it fear of legal consequences, a genuine change of heart? Or is this part of a larger strategy to de-escalate an increasingly tense public showdown? Let's take a look at how this all started and what's changed and what it means for both Candace Owens and her critics going forward. The defamation suit began when Candace Owens took legal action over what she claimed were false and damaging public statements made by a group of content creators and influencers. At the core of her complaint was the assertion that her character and credibility had been intentionally misrepresented. Initially, many online commentators pushed back. Some argued that Owens was trying to silence criticism. Others felt the lawsuit might be an overreach, an attempt to control public discourse by using legal means. In this charged atmosphere, several influencers emerged as vocal critics of Owens. Among them was the person now saying "You were right, I was wrong." They published multiple posts, videos, and commentary pieces challenging Owens' statements and casting doubt on her legal claims. For weeks, it seemed like just another internet standoff, heated rhetoric, polarized camps, and no real resolution in sight. But then the case entered a new phase. Owens' legal team submitted affidavits, correspondence, and witness statements that shed new light on the matter. Some of the statements previously made against her were revealed to be factually questionable, lacking documentation, or rooted in speculation. That's when things shifted. One by one, independent journalists began to peel back the layers, and soon inconsistencies in the original criticisms of Owens were coming into focus. Some creators who had jumped into the controversy without verifying claims began to quietly walk back their statements. And then came the moment no one expected: a formal post from a former critic stating, "After reviewing the evidence and reflecting on the impact of my words, I have to admit I was wrong about Candace. I spoke too soon. I didn't have the full picture." This admission has reverberated across platforms, with users from both sides reacting in waves. Some praised the honesty, others questioned the timing, and many asked what happens now legally. Speaking, this new development adds a fascinating layer to the defamation case. A public admission of fault, especially one that walks back earlier accusations, could influence how the court views damages, credibility, and intent. Owens' legal team has responded cautiously but firmly, stating, "We appreciate the acknowledgement and hope others will reflect on the serious implications of spreading misinformation." The case will continue based on the facts presented before the court. Legal analysts say this kind of admission could serve two purposes. First, it may help Owens' team demonstrate that the original statements against her lacked substantiated evidence. Second, it can be used to show how reputational damage was done not just by one individual, but by a wider ecosystem of content creators who didn't verify before they amplified. But there's also a chance that this admission could reduce the level of damages if the court sees it as a mitigating factor. If the individual in question takes further action, such as removing the original content, issuing a formal apology, or even testifying on behalf of Owens, it could shift the legal tone of the case significantly. Still, the road ahead is uncertain. There are other defendants, other claims, and a public that remains divided. The internet has responded with a mix of shock, support, and skepticism. For many, this case was never just about Candace Owens, it was about freedom of speech, accountability, and how quickly narratives spread in the digital world. Some users have commended the individual who came forward, praising their courage for admitting they were wrong. "We need more people like this," one user wrote. "It's okay to change your mind when you learn new facts." Others are taking a more cautious stance. Why now? Some have asked, is this damage control or sincere regret? Meanwhile, Owens herself has not responded directly to the admission, but her most recent public statement suggests she's focused on the broader picture. "This isn't just about me. It's about the kind of culture we're creating, one where truth matters even when it's inconvenient." What comes next could shape the way public figures and creators interact in the future. If this case ends with a legal precedent, whether in Owens' favor or not, it could impact how future online disputes and defamation claims are handled. We'll be watching closely. The next court date is expected soon, and all eyes will be on whether more apologies or settlements surface as the case unfolds. As we reach the conclusion of this extraordinary chapter in the Candace Owens defamation saga, it's clear that this case has grown into something far more profound than anyone originally anticipated. What began as a lawsuit about false statements and reputational harm has blossomed into a deeply revealing exploration of truth, accountability, and the evolving relationship between public figures and digital media creators. The recent turn, someone publicly stepping forward and saying, "You were right, I was wrong," may seem like a small moment in the grand scheme of things. But make no mistake, it's one of the most powerful pivots in the entire case. In a digital world where doubling down is often the go-to response, where admitting fault is mistaken for weakness, and where narratives spread faster than facts, such a public statement is nothing short of groundbreaking. This moment serves as a cultural reset, a reminder that in the pursuit of justice, it's never too late to pause, reflect, and reevaluate. It's a signal to content creators, influencers, and even average users that public discourse should not be a battleground of egos but a forum for integrity, growth, and genuine dialogue. Let's take a moment to understand why this admission matters so deeply. First, it humanizes the legal case. In the age of social media, lawsuits like these often become caricatures of real legal processes. People pick sides quickly, often without reading the court filings or understanding the laws involved. Hashtags replace analysis, opinions outrun facts, and in that race, reputations like Candace Owens can get trampled unfairly. But when a critic publicly acknowledges their error, the conversation shifts from us versus them to something more nuanced, more real, and more empathetic. Second, this moment introduces a rare and needed element of humility. For all of the grandstanding that dominates the influencer world, here was someone willing to step back and admit, "I didn't get it right." That kind of personal reckoning is difficult, it's uncomfortable, but it's also powerful. It breaks the cycle of hostility and paves the way for honest engagement and maybe even resolution. And this isn't just about one individual's change of heart. This admission sends ripples far beyond the courtroom. It reminds other commentators, YouTubers, podcasters, and everyday social media users that the things they say online carry real weight, legal, reputational, and emotional. What might feel like a hot take or a quick video can spiral into real-world consequences. When those words distort the truth or spread misinformation, they don't just impact a public figure like Owens, they also undermine the integrity of public discourse as a whole. We live in a time where misinformation spreads with frightening ease. Lives and careers can be derailed by a single viral post. In such a volatile climate, this act of taking responsibility, of saying, "I got it wrong," is revolutionary. It reminds us that truth still matters, that facts still count, that apologies can still have value even in a digital world that often forgets the people behind the usernames. Now for Candace Owens, this is undoubtedly a vindicating moment. She has remained adamant And
from
whether
the
one
beginning
agrees
that
with
she was
all
the
of her
target of
views or not, the
falsehoods and
unfolding of this case
misrepresentation.
shows that she was not just lashing out or using her influence to suppress critics. She was standing up for her name, her career, and her right to be portrayed truthfully. At the same time, we must remember that this case is not yet over. Legal proceedings will continue. There may be more revelations, more statements, more apologies, or more resistance. But the tide has undoubtedly shifted. The confession we've seen is not just a personal gesture. It could influence how the court evaluates the intent behind some of the original accusations. It may even lead others involved in the case to reconsider their stance. More broadly, this moment has reshaped the public narrative. For weeks, the prevailing discussion was about whether Owens was trying to intimidate critics, silence opposition, or use litigation as a weapon. Now the conversation is evolving. Now we are talking about misinformation, responsibility, and the importance of verifying claims before turning them into content. This shift matters. It means future influencers may think twice before reacting to a trending story without checking the facts. It means there's now a well-documented example of how humility and honesty can diffuse tension and inspire real learning. And it may even lead to new norms in digital media where creators take accountability seriously, where apologies aren't just PR tactics but sincere acts of growth, and where truth isn't buried beneath outrage. To the person who stepped forward to say you were right, I was wrong, we say thank you. Not because you admitted defeat, but because you showed strength. It takes more courage to change your mind than to stick to a mistake out of pride. And in doing so, you've reminded thousands of viewers and followers that growth is always possible. To Candace Owens, this moment is a testament to perseverance. Whether people agree with her politics or not, this lawsuit reveals that she wasn't afraid to stand up for herself even when the internet noise tried to drown her out. That's not just resilience, it's conviction. And to everyone watching from the sidelines, creators, consumers, and commentators alike, this moment is a wake-up call. It's a reminder that the internet is not a game. Words matter, allegations matter, and our responsibility as users of these platforms is greater than we often admit. So as this case continues, let's carry this moment forward. Let's prioritize truth over trend, responsibility over reaction, and courage over chaos. Let's create a digital culture where it's safe to speak up but also safe to admit when we've gone too far. Because at the end of the day, being right isn't about winning, it's about honoring the truth. And being wrong isn't shameful, it's part of being human. Candace Owens' defamation suit has now become a symbol of something much bigger. A collective reflection on how we communicate, how we correct, and how we come back from mistakes. The next chapters are still being written. But this one ends with an unforgettable line: you were right, I was wrong, and sometimes those are the words that change everything.